For millennia, the pyramids have stood as silent sentinels. They guard the secrets of a civilization that touched the heavens. We have gazed upon them, measured them, and believed we understood their purpose. We thought their story was written in the stone we could see, in the tombs we had found. But the desert is patient. It holds its deepest truths beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment, for the right eyes. We were looking at the monuments, but we were missing the foundation of their entire world. A story far grander than we ever dared to imagine was sleeping just beneath our feet, a story not of death, but of a sprawling, hidden life. The ancient Greek historian Herodotus spoke of it. He wrote of a labyrinth that surpassed even the pyramids in its ambition, a place of 12 roofed courts and 3,000 chambers, half above ground and half below. His words were dismissed by many as exaggeration, the fanciful tale of a traveler prone to embellishment. How could something so vast, so complex, simply vanish from history? But what if it didn't vanish? What if it was merely buried? The sands of time are the ultimate keepers of secrets. They can swallow entire cities, hiding them from sight and from memory, preserving them in a silent, sandy tomb until humanity is ready to listen again. It began not with a shovel, but with a sound, a vibration. Modern technology, in its quest to map the bedrock of the Giza Plateau, picked up an anomaly, a void, a network of impossibilities that defied geological explanation. It was a pattern too regular, too geometric to be natural. The readings painted a picture of something immense, a structure that stretched for miles, a web of tunnels and chambers that dwarfed the Great Pyramid itself. The whispers of Herodotus, once dismissed as myth, suddenly echoed in the sterile hum of scientific equipment. The legend was knocking on our door from deep within the earth. The initial discovery was met with a hushed reverence, a mix of disbelief and profound awe. Could it be true? Could a subterranean world, a lost chapter of human history, have been lying dormant just out of reach? The air on the plateau seemed to change, charged with a new energy, a new mystery. The familiar faces of the Sphinx and the pyramids now looked different. They were no longer just tombs for kings. They were gatekeepers. They were the visible markers for an invisible empire, a kingdom of shadows spoken of in legend and now finally glimpsed by the light of science. The real journey was about to begin, If you're fascinated by the mysteries beneath the sands and want to join us as we uncover more secrets of the ancient world, make sure to subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us bring these hidden stories to light. The entrance was not grand. There was no gilded door or towering archway. It was a simple, unassuming shaft hidden beneath a forgotten stone marker miles from the main necropolis. It was as if its creators wanted it to be overlooked, a secret to be kept, not displayed. The air that rose from its depths was ancient. It was cool and dry, carrying a scent of stone, dust, and something else. Something organic, like time itself had a fragrance. To step across that threshold was to leave the familiar world behind. It was a commitment, a descent not just into darkness, but into the very heart of a forgotten age. We descended. The light from the surface world faded quickly, replaced by the sterile beams of our headlamps. The walls of the shaft were smooth, impossibly so, not carved with rough tools, but seemingly polished by an unknown technique. The silence was absolute, broken only by our own breathing and the soft crunch of our boots on the dusty floor. Every foot of descent felt like a journey of 100 years back in time. The pressure in the air changed. It was a heavy, watchful silence, a quiet that felt earned, as if it had been waiting for visitors for an eternity. Then the shaft opened into a corridor, and the true scale of the discovery began to unfold. This was no simple tomb. This was a highway of the underworld. The tunnel stretched forward into the darkness, farther than our lights could penetrate. It was wide enough for 10 people to walk abreast. The ceiling soared 30 feet above our heads, a perfect, shallow arch. And this was just one passage. Our mapping data showed a network of these corridors, branching and intersecting for 10 miles beneath the sands. A subterranean city built on a scale that defied everything we knew about the ancient world. We walked for what felt like hours, yet the passage remained unchanged, a testament to a singular, unwavering vision. There were no carvings here, no hieroglyphs to guide us, only the sheer, magnificent emptiness of the space. It was humbling. It was terrifying. We were trespassers in a domain that was never meant for our eyes. The emotional weight was immense. This was not just an archaeological find. It was a resurrection. We were walking through the veins of a lost civilization, feeling the faint phantom pulse of the millions who may have walked these halls before us. As we ventured deeper, the labyrinth began to reveal its complexity. The single, massive corridor gave way to a dizzying nexus of intersecting tunnels. Some were as grand as the first, while others were narrow, intimate passages, barely wide enough for one person to squeeze through. It was a deliberate, intricate design, a maze meant to confuse, to protect, to filter. But what was it protecting? At regular intervals, we found massive stone doors, each weighing many tons, yet perfectly balanced on unseen pivots. They stood ajar, as if their guardians had left in a hurry, or had simply welcomed the passage of time as their final visitor. The chambers we discovered were breathtaking in their variety. We found vast, cathedral-like halls with ceilings that disappeared into the gloom above our lights. In these spaces, the acoustics were perfect. A single whisper would travel across the room and return as a clear echo. Were these places of assembly, of worship, or were they resonators, designed for some purpose involving sound and vibration? Other rooms were small and numerous, laid out in grids like the cells of a honeycomb. Thousands of them, empty, waiting. Each one a question mark carved from the living rock. The sheer artistry was overwhelming. The corners were perfect right angles. The floors were level over miles of terrain. This was not the work of a slave-driven mob. This was the work of masters, mathematicians, engineers, and artists of the highest order. The precision suggested a purpose that went far beyond a simple burial complex. It felt like a machine, a great, silent stone engine, and we were crawling through its inert components, trying to guess at its function. The absence of inscriptions was the most profound mystery. They built a world and then chose not to sign their work. The emotional impact of this silent world was profound. It was a place of ghosts, but not of sorrow. It felt dormant, as if the life that once filled these halls had not ended, but had simply moved on. We felt like children discovering the workshop of a long-lost ancestor. We could see the tools, the benches, the grand designs, but the animating spirit was gone. We stood in the heart of the labyrinth, a 10-mile testament to human ingenuity, and we were surrounded by the loudest silence in history, a silence that spoke of a purpose so grand it needed no words. Who could have built such a place? This question echoed louder than any sound in the silent corridors. The scale and precision of the labyrinth seemed to push the boundaries of what we believed was possible for the dynastic Egyptians we know. The Great Pyramid is a marvel of engineering, but this is an order of magnitude beyond. This is the work of a society with a deep, almost geological understanding of the earth, and a technology for cutting and moving stone that remains a mystery to us now. The clues are few, and they point toward a history far older than the one written in our books. One theory looks to the stars. Ancient texts, like the pyramid texts, speak of the pharaoh's journey to the stars to join the imperishable ones. Could this labyrinth be a physical representation of that journey? A map of the Duat, the Egyptian underworld, which was itself a reflection of the night sky? Perhaps it was not a tomb, but a place of initiation. a ritual space where priests and pharaohs would walk the path of the gods, navigating the darkness to achieve enlightenment or immortality. This was not a place for the dead, but a place for transformation, for becoming one with the cosmos. Another possibility is even more profound. It suggests the builders were not the Egyptians of the First Dynasty, but a far older, predecessor civilization. A culture lost to the Great Flood, a cataclysm spoken of in myths from every corner of the ancient world. Legends of a golden age, of a time when gods walked among men, are persistent. Could this labyrinth be a remnant of that lost world? An antediluvian archive, built to withstand a world-changing catastrophe? It would explain the lack of familiar hieroglyphs and the almost alien level of engineering. It would mean the history of human civilization is far older and more complex than we know. The final and perhaps most challenging idea is that the labyrinth was never meant for us at all. Its purpose might be something we can't yet comprehend. Was it a power source, harnessing the telluric energies of the earth? Was it a refuge, built in anticipation of a future cataclysm? The sheer effort, the generational commitment required, speaks to a motive that transcends the life of any single king or dynasty. It speaks of a purpose tied to the survival of knowledge, or perhaps the survival of humanity itself. The builders remain phantoms, their faces unseen, but their ambition is written in every stone of this impossible place. Within the labyrinth, there are subtle clues. While grand inscriptions are absent, we have found faint traces. In one of the larger assembly halls, ground-penetrating radar revealed patterns beneath the floor. Not writing, but geometric schematics. They resemble star charts, but of a sky that is not our own, or perhaps the sky as it was 100,000 years ago. Other markings are mathematical. The golden ratio, pi, and other universal constants are encoded in the dimensions of the rooms and the distances between key chambers. This is the language of science, of a universal truth. The legends of the local people have always spoken of it. They call it the way of the soul. Stories passed down through countless generations tell of a city beneath the sands, a place where the wise ones slept, waiting for a time of great need to awaken. These stories were often dismissed as folklore, the romantic tales of a people living in the shadow of giants. But now, as we walk these halls, their myths feel like history. They feel like a memory, preserved in story because the stone itself was commanded to be silent. It is a humbling reminder that oral tradition can often hold a truth that written history has forgotten. The emotional weight of this connection is hard to describe. To realize that a myth you heard as a child might be a map to the greatest archaeological discovery in human history, it changes you. It reorients your understanding of the world. Every stone in this place seems to vibrate with the echoes of its purpose. We are not just discovering a structure, we are rediscovering a lost branch of the human family. The silence is not empty, it is filled with the resonance of their thoughts, their beliefs, their hopes for a future they knew would one day arrive. And there are other discoveries. In a few sealed chambers, the air was different. Analysis shows it contained rare atmospheric gases and organic pollen from plants that have been extinct for over 10,000 years. It is a time capsule, not just of a building, but of a world. A world with a different climate, a different ecology. The labyrinth did not just preserve a culture, it preserved a planet. It is a library of information so vast, we have only just begun to read the first page. Each clue only deepens the mystery, pulling us further into the embrace of this magnificent enigma. Today is July 21st, 2026, and we stand at a precipice of understanding. The 10-mile labyrinth beneath the sands of Giza has redefined the very meaning of our past. It is a monument not to a king, but to an idea, a testament to the enduring power of human curiosity and our relentless drive to build for eternity. We came to the desert seeking the tombs of pharaohs, and we found a cradle of civilization we never knew existed. The grandeur of this place forces us to ask new questions, not just who we were, but what we might be capable of. The secrets of the labyrinth are far from revealed. Its full extent is still being mapped, and its deepest chambers remain sealed. What lies within them? The wisdom of a lost age? The history of a forgotten race of kings? Or perhaps simply a mirror, a reflection of our own desire to find meaning, to connect with something larger than ourselves, to believe that we are part of a story that began long before our time and will continue long after we are gone. The labyrinth is a challenge, thrown down across the millennia, a puzzle we must now prove ourselves worthy of solving. This discovery is a profound lesson in humility. It reminds us that we are not the pinnacle of human achievement, but merely the current chapter. Civilizations can rise to unimaginable heights and then vanish, leaving behind only whispers and shadows. The builders of this underworld were masters of their world, and yet history forgot them. What does that say about our own time? Our own monuments of steel and glass? Will they endure? Or will they too be swallowed by the sands, waiting for a future generation to wonder at who we were? The journey into the labyrinth is a journey into ourselves. It ignites the spark of wonder that defines our species. For as long as there are mysteries hidden in the earth, as long as there are questions written in the stars, we will keep searching. We will keep digging. We will keep descending into the darkness, guided by the simple, powerful belief that the next discovery, the next answer, is waiting just ahead. The pyramids no longer stand alone. They are part of a greater whole, a mystery whose surface we have only just begun to scratch. And the story is far from over.